Good morning. It is good to see you and a joy and a blessing to be with you all. My name is Richard Mirage, and I'm the lead minister here at Unity of Phoenix, and it is great to see you. Hey, can we acknowledge our flautist and saxophone guest artist today? Christina Steffen. You'll be hearing more from her. She's absolutely fabulous. You'll hear more, but right now we just want to say welcome. Glad you're here.
I'm Reverend Tina Brown. I'm the spiritual education minister and so happy to be here. Good morning.
And I'm Jimmy Scott, pastoral care minister. Great to see you on this beautiful fall, blustery day. Wind blowing through my hair.
Oh, man, that is good.
Oh, that is so funny. Our intention here today is to have a joyful, happy experience. And Reverend Jimmy, thank you for getting us started so wonderfully and beautifully. No, really, our intention is for you to have a deep and profound experience of God, to know that presence of love within you, and for you to be lifted up and filled with joy as you go through those doors today.
All right, so right now we're going to affirm our mission, and let us all affirm our mission together. Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. Amen.
So now's that time in our service for a time of prayer and meditation. So if you have your cell phones with you, I want to encourage you to place those either on silence or vibrate, and Rusty will lead us in our meditational song.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
And as we pay homage to that wonderful melody, I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. You take a deep, refreshing breath. Just relax your body. And then, as much as is possible, begin to relax your mind. Just allow yourself to get quiet. And become mindful of the reality of life that is flowing in and through you. Just breathing and relaxing. Again, clearing your mind. You are a divine creation. Created in and after the image of the Creator. Endowed with all the possibilities. That life has to offer. blessed with the ability to choose the possibilities that inspire you and support you, encourage you. The possibilities that love through you and that express through you. The possibilities that heal you. And transform you. So as you're mindful of all those possibilities, and as many more as you can imagine, for the next few moments, I just invite you to rest in them. And to own them. So one more deep, refreshing breath. And then just be still. So as you move into the upcoming holiday season, and you find yourself getting caught up in the hustle and bustle and busyness of life and the holidays, I invite you to be mindful of these 3 words from the Master. Peace, be still. As you are mindful of those 3 words, may the peace of God and the love of God and the power of God enfold you in each and every moment. We give thanks in advance for that reality. And so it is. And amen.
Our Father, who us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
Good morning again, everyone. Special shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So how many people here have someone in your life that is difficult to deal with? Anybody have? How many people have known someone who is so frustrating and so irritating, it's really hard to get along with them? Sometimes it's even hard to be in the same room. Anybody have that? So my favorite Ziggy cartoon has got Ziggy standing out with his arms up in the air looking up at the beautiful sky, and he says, "I love life. It's just the people I can't stand." And I think we can all relate to that in some way. I think we all deal with difficult people in some aspect of our lives. And whether it's in the workplace, or whether it's a family member, whether it's a parent or a child, whether it's a neighbor or it's a mechanic or a store clerk or a stranger, we all at times deal with individuals that are difficult. You know, sometimes we engage and deal with people that are so negative, that are so contrary, and sometimes so toxic. It really is tough to make a connection. It's tough to communicate, and also it's just tough to be around. Now, I think we all easily agreed that we all have difficult people in our lives. We have difficult people to deal with. How many people would say that you might be a difficult person? Anybody? Okay, about 6 difficult people here. You know, we like to pretend, but the truth is we are someone else's difficult person to deal with. Every one of us can be difficult. And if you don't think you are, I have a little test that might explain. So you might be a difficult person if people salute you on the job and you are not in the military. So that just might be. It just might be. You might be a difficult person if your family moves and forgets to tell you where. You might be a difficult person. You might be a difficult person if every time you walk into most businesses, they just happen to be closing at that time. And finally, you might be a difficult person if telemarketers hang up on you. They never hang up on anybody. Had a bartender friend, and somebody once said to him, "So what's the most wonderful part of your job?" And he said, "Oh, the people. Sometimes you just meet the most amazing people." And then they said, "So what's the worst part of your job?" He said, "Oh, the people. Sometimes you meet the worst people." And for me, that says something really important. I truly believe that the greatest joys in our lives come from our interactions and our connection with people. That when we feel an open-hearted connection, when we feel validated and appreciated, when we feel encouraged and supported and can encourage and support and to believe in others, you know, when you feel that bond, that love, it brings a joy that is just beyond words. Our relationships and being with people makes life fulfilling in so many ways. And I also believe that some of the most painful experiences we have come from our relationships with people. Our greatest heartaches and disappointments, feeling of betrayal, come from the conflicts and the disagreements, you know, and the not seeing eye to eye and the confrontations that we can sometimes have with individuals in our lives. You know, there's a study that I saw, and it said that people who have harmonious, happy, fulfilling relationships tend to be more healthy. And that people who have a lot of conflict and stress and tension and turmoil in relationships tend not to be not only not as healthy, but not as happy. So I truly believe that learning and to deal with difficult people is an important life skill that's important for our health, you know, our sense of happiness. But I also believe that learning to deal with difficult people is an important part of our spiritual growth. You know, sometimes we think that the difficult people, that they are the problem, they're the roadblock, they're what's stopping me or preventing me from feeling greater peace and happiness and success, that they are getting in the way of my good. And I would suggest that they are an important part of your good. They're an important part of our growth. They're an important part of our evolution. I truly believe that difficult people, if we allow it to, those relationships can actually shape us, mold us, and expand us into everything that we came here to be. So everybody, I want you to think of someone you're having a difficult time with, maybe the most difficult person you're having. Just think about them for a second, and here's a question I want to ask you about them. I want you to ask yourself, how is this person calling me to be greater than I even want to be? How is this person calling me to be greater than I think I can be? And what quality, what spiritual attribute is this person in this relationship calling me to own, to step up into, to embody, to express, to develop? Because as uncomfortable as these relationships seem and these individuals seem, they are here to help us grow. They are here to expand and develop. They're not here to dim or extinguish our lights. They're actually here to help us shine our spiritual lights even brighter than we even imagined it could be shined. But the problem is that sometimes we so are uncomfortable and so don't want to deal with it, we actually don't get the blessing because we spend all the time trying to make them 100% the problem, or us the victim, or just quite frankly wanting to avoid doing the difficult work we know that's needed to actually have that growth take place. So today we're going to talk about how do we deal with difficult people. How do we learn this wonderful and important life skill, but how can we allow it to help us grow and develop spiritually into a fuller and a more amazing individual than we think we can be? And so the first thing is we need to look at ourselves. Most of the time we think it's their behavior, it's what they're doing, it's what they're saying that is making me mad, that is making me upset. I don't know if you remember a few weeks back I gave a line that says that everybody, you know, every one of us has people who press our buttons, but those people didn't install them. And so that when someone says something or behaves in a certain way and it triggers us, it's because something is in us that needs to be healed. Something is in us that feels wounded. Something is in us, you know, that doesn't quite feel whole. You know, there's something in us that we need to heal or release or let go or come to terms or accept. That anytime somebody says something, it isn't about them, it's actually about us. If we want to learn how to deal with difficult people, the very first thing is we need to look at ourselves, of what's triggering us, of what's hurting us, you know, of what pain, what fear, what is coming up for us in these moments. And instead of just putting it outside and saying it's all about them, the truth is it's actually all about us. And particularly, it's all about what's going on with us inside. You know, there was a person in my life that, you know, had been there for a long time, and this person came across to me as pretty arrogant and would say little negative put-downs and stuff. And I would always feel kind of inferior. You know, I would feel less than. And I would always think, man, I sure will wish they weren't in my life. Anybody ever wish someone was not in your life? And the thing is, but the truth is, what it was is the way that person was showing up and acting and speaking and things that they were doing was just triggering a part of me that just didn't feel worthy, that felt inferior, that felt less than, that felt not good enough, that felt like I wasn't whole. And so it wasn't about them. In fact, their role in my life was important because it was helping trigger something that needed to be healed so that I could feel more whole, so I could feel more happy and enjoy my life more fully. You know, there's this book, you know, it's interesting. I read 2 articles. One was called Dealing with Difficult People, 17 Tips to Stay Sane. And then there was another one called Dealing with Difficult People, 83 Ways to Stay Calm, Composed, and in Control. I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of work. I only have 3 points today. That's it. Not 17, not 83. But the lady who wrote the book about the 83 ways to stay calm tells an interesting story about herself. She said when she got married, she couldn't stand her mother-in-law. She just couldn't stand her, would find any way to avoid being in the same room with her mother-in-law. She said, you know, she was just always kind of doting and hovering and wanted to be around and asking a bunch of questions. And so it was really bothering her. And she asked herself the question, so what is this triggering in me? Why is her behavior or her presence bothering me so much? And she realized that what was triggering in her was a discomfort she had because when she was 12 years old, her mother had a very serious stroke, and she became the caretaker. That at 12 years old, she became an adult and didn't learn how to receive being nurtured and cared for by a parent. So what it triggered in her, the mother-in-law's behavior, was her inability to really receive and accept love and to be nurtured. She was so unaccustomed to it that she realized it wasn't about the mother-in-law. It was about something she needed to heal, to feel whole, and to open herself up to receive love. So I ask you, someone in your life that is difficult to deal with, what are they triggering in you? What hurt or upset or fear or feeling is coming up in you that you know it's time for you to look at and to deal and not just blame them for their behavior or their actions? And I'm not saying all people's behaviors and actions are good. I'm just saying the way to go about it is to begin dealing and healing within ourselves. You know, one of the things that it's powerful and upsetting at the same time is that the problems sit with us, but the solution is also within. That's the beautiful thing. Because if the problem is outside of us, then we think the solution's outside, and then we have no control. The truth is, the problem and the hurt is in us, and the ability to heal is within us. Remember in the Bible it says, the kingdom of God is within you. Christ in you, your hope of glory. It says, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. Because the truth is, when we begin to acknowledge what's hurting, what needs healing, what do I need to release or let go, what fear do I need to deal with, we can feel more whole and complete. And what happens is, when the people say the things, the reaction inside isn't as bad because when we are more healed, no matter what people say on the outside, we actually are not as moved by it. You know, Richard Rogers talks about something he calls the law of reflection. You ever hear anybody say, life's a mirror, it's always reflecting back? And you're just saying, no, it isn't. I'm not a jerk like that guy. I'm not a racist. I'm not a this. And the truth is, one of the things is, the law of reflection is saying that whatever behavior you are seeing out in the outer world, you need to ask yourself the question, you know, in what way am I doing the very same thing to myself? So let's take my extreme example of I'm not a racist. Racism would get me so angry. I'd just get angry. And I'd think, no way I'm not a racist. Well, if you think about racism, it is about negatively viewing someone, judging them in a harsh way, and treating them or believing them that they are less than and fair, that they are less than. And so my question had to be, so in what way am I viewing myself negatively? In what way am I treating myself and think that I am less than? In what way am I judging myself? That everything that triggers off that you see in behavior you don't like in someone, the question you need to go deeper with and ask yourself is, in what way am I treating myself that same way? If you say someone's a liar or they're not honest, you just say, in what way am I not being honest with myself? Is this making sense, everyone? I mean, it's powerful stuff. Is that any time you're dealing with difficult people, you got to start here. What's it triggering in me, and knowing that in me is the way for me to come whole and go even deeper and saying there's a law of reflection, you know, in what way am I treating myself that way? Because once the wholeness comes in here, the reactions to people are, you know, it's less. That same individual is still in my life, still as arrogant still, but it doesn't really bother me. Why? Because I am feeling more whole. I am feeling more worthy, so the reaction is much less. You'll always find the difficulty will diminish the more you look at yourself and begin to heal what's going on inside. So second thing we're going to talk about is boundaries. How many people here have ever felt anybody has taken advantage of you, used you, and walked all over you? Anybody ever had that experience? And how many people here have ever had a hard time setting boundaries? Anybody have a hard time setting boundaries? One of the things I've learned about boundaries, we think that boundaries is protecting us from other people. But the truth is, boundaries are not for other people, they're actually for ourselves. You know, there are three things about boundaries. Boundaries are for ourselves. And let me give you an example. A friend of mine, her mom made her have a midnight curfew when she was growing up. And she had gotten with her mom and said, Mom, this is upsetting. All my friends stay out till 1. Why midnight? And their mom said, honey, the boundary isn't for you. It's for me. I can't fall asleep or feel comfortable unless I know that you're in the house. And so for 1 o'clock, that's a little too hard for me to stretch. It's not that I don't trust you or believe you'll make smart decisions and be safe, but that boundary is actually for me to feel more comfortable and safe. It's also to protect you, but it's also about me. All the boundaries we set are actually about ourselves, to help ourselves. So let me give you an example. I've told this story before. When I was in seminary, I lived in a house, and there were 5 people. There were 5 different rooms, and we all lived in the house. And I always used to leave my door open. And one of my roommates would always go into my room when I wasn't there and watch my television, eat my food, talk on my phone. I'd go in there in my futon. It'd be like popcorn on my futon. And I'd be like, come on, man, what's the matter with this guy? He's so rude, selfish, he's walking all over me. And I'm like just stewing on this stuff. I got to tell him off. I got to say something to him. So I went on all this stuff, and I thought to myself, okay, you need to say, I need you to not go in my room when I'm not there, and not eat my food, and not listen, and just say it. And so I'm working, and I'm thinking, well, suppose he says something, and then I have to tell him off. Watch yourself, man. And I'm making up all this story in my head. So then I end up having this conversation, and I said to him, John, I'd really prefer if you not go in my room and use my stuff. Whenever I'm there, you can come in anytime. We can watch TV and stuff, but I'd really prefer if you just didn't. And he said, okay. And I thought, what? Okay? I've been flipping out for 2 weeks on this thing, and all you give me is okay? So a couple of things I want to say is, number one, boundaries are for us. And secondly, they are actually clarifying for ourselves how we want to be treated. They're actually clarifying what we really want out of life. A boundary is raising the standard of the quality of life that in a relationship or anywhere else. It is, and then the third thing, a boundary is a reflection of the self-worth and the value we think we have. So just saying a simple thing as, I would appreciate it if you don't go in my room when I'm not there, was a huge deal for me, because it's tough for sometimes. And the reason is because it's for us, it's clarifying what we want, and it's a reflection of the level of self-worth that we think we have in ourselves. And there are all kinds of things with boundaries. There was somebody who used to come and ask me for money last minute. I'm going to be kicked out of my apartment tomorrow if you don't give me $500. And it's like, you feel emotionally guilted into it, and this goes on for years. And finally, I said, you know what? If that happens again, I won't be giving any money. And I'll tell you, again, it was for me. I was clarifying and establishing what value, because sometimes enabling someone isn't the best thing for them or for us, but the boundary is an important thing. So my question for you, in an area of your life, in a relationship that isn't feeling as harmonious as you'd like, what is the boundary that you need to create? What is the line and the raising of the standard of behavior that you are willing to call for yourself? Because I guarantee you, what happens is, when you raise that bar, it changes you and them, and you actually both become healthier. In some way, we are denying other people the blessing and the awareness of a healthier relationship by not setting a boundary. That makes sense, everyone? Boundaries are important. Boundaries are for ourselves. Boundaries are clarifying what it is we want, how we want to be treated, how we want to show up in life. And third, it's a reflection of our value and our self-worth. And then the final thing I want to talk about in dealing with difficult people is about opening our hearts. Most of the time we deal with difficult people that get us upset. We close our hearts to protect ourselves. But unfortunately, closing our hearts also closes our hearts to love. It closes our hearts to peace and wisdom and joy and creativity. We close it, and closing a heart is just really not a good thing. Somebody once said that a heart is like an umbrella. It works best when it's open, and it really does. But when your heart is open, you feel lighter. When your heart is open, your mind is more open. Your emotions are more calm. You're much more clear. You're much more centered and at peace, and can make much better decisions. So opening our heart's important. And there's two things about opening your heart, what it does. Number one, it creates some compassion for the other person. And sometimes we don't have any compassion when our hearts are closed. That dirty so-and-so deserves blah, blah, blah. That we only see them as a negative person. So when your heart's open, you can go in compassion. And here's a little meditation prayer thing I developed. It's called Just Like Me. Somebody, I want you to think of a difficult person in your life and kind of let my prayer or my words be your words. So think of them for a second. So this person acts like a jerk, just like me. This person has made mistakes, just like me. This person had some difficult stuff happen to them in their life, just like me. This person deserves a second chance, just like me. This person is a child of God, just like me. This person is worthy of love and a happy life, just like me. This person is a child of God, just like me. Sometimes we don't know all the details about people, but I guarantee you that we are a lot more common than we realize. And opening our hearts and extending a level of compassion, and not excusing anyone's behavior, but having a compassion for who they are as a human being, as a child of God, as an amazing spirit, is a very important thing. Charles Fillmore once said that the quality of life and the level of abundance that you experience is directly related to the quality of thoughts that you hold towards other people. So holding thoughts of hatred and anger and blame towards others isn't helping them, and it's not helping us as well. It's limiting the level of good in our lives. So having an open heart and opening our heart to compassion, actually creates a path of ease and joy and peace for us, but it also creates good for others as well. And then the other thing about having an open heart is that you practice sending love. You have the ability to send love to other people. And it seems silly, sending love to someone that you don't like, or just sending love in general. We think it's not powerful. It's hugely powerful. Let me give you an example. I tell this story in our Unity Basics class, but I had a lady, her name was Sharon, when I was a minister at North Carolina. She moved from Pennsylvania with her family, her husband and her 2 children, to a cul-de-sac, and the next door neighbor in the cul-de-sac was a real estate agent. The real estate agent messed up, so when they arrived with their truck moving on the day the place was supposed to close, the real estate agent made a mistake, and the house wasn't going to close for a month later. She didn't pay for anything. They had to put their house in storage. They had to live in a hotel for a month, cost them lots of money, and needless to say, there was a lot of tension. There was some dealing with difficult people going on in that cul-de-sac. And then the real estate agent kind of owned the place. I mean, she was the most popular, so nobody talked to Sharon and her family. She was ostracized. So moving from Pennsylvania, I mean, it was a horrible time. She came into my office crying. She said, "This is so horrible. They hate me. We moved here. They won't even look at me in the morning. Everybody just turns away. This is horrible." I said, "Sharon, we got a little project to do, a little spiritual project. Here's how it's going to go. You and I, every single night, we're going to send that woman love and blessings. We're going to send this whole situation, see it surrounded in light, just send love. And I'll guarantee you," and that was July, I said, "in a year and a half, the next Christmas, she's going to send you a Christmas card." So we started on our little love sending project. And then interestingly, in October, they had a little neighborhood thing where they lost their water pressure. And she was one of these write letter to the editors kind of people. She was really like that. So she wrote a letter on behalf of the little neighborhood complaining about the water pressure. The water pressure got restored. So all the other neighbors started liking her a little bit, and they would wave to her. And then that Christmas, she sent her neighbor a card. She didn't get one. And we kept praying and praying and praying and sending love. Well, the following December, she got a Christmas card from her neighbor. In fact, they would wave, and actually everything's cool, and they're all friends now. Now, it sounds really simple, but I guarantee you, if you were to take a little time every day for someone you're having a difficult time with and just send them love, I guarantee over time, things will be transformed. Things will be changed. How many people ever heard of Catherine Ponder? Anybody have heard of Catherine Ponder? Catherine Ponder says, if you have a difficulty with someone, when they're sleeping, write their angel, that there will be healing in the relationship, that something miraculous will transform, and there will be harmony restored through the relationship. She has so many examples. One of them was a lady who had a son who was in prison for 2 years, would never talk to her, and she was doing that for 2 years. The son ended up writing her, and just an amazing healing happened. And my point I'm trying to make is that amazing and wonderful things happen when you open your heart with compassion. When you open your heart and send that difficult person love, I guarantee you, things will be transformed in a way that'll amaze you. Saw a quote that I love, and it says, "Human beings are the most difficult people in the world." And I would agree, yes, we are. And the fact is, nobody likes to deal with difficult people, and I bet you if every one of us could, we'd snap our fingers and those people would disappear. But I would suggest, if they did disappear, we would miss on the amazing spiritual growth and the life lessons and the healing and the incredible gifts that can come forth dealing with difficult people. This week, whoever it is that you're dealing with and whatever it is they're triggering, the number one thing, look at what it's triggering in you and ask yourself, in what way am I treating myself in the negative way that I am seeing others treat in the world? Because the problem's in here and the answer's in here as well. And the second one is set some boundaries. Clarify how you want to be treated and raise that standard by setting those simple boundaries, because it is truly a reflection of the level of self-worth that we have for ourselves. And finally, open your heart in love. Open your heart in love with compassion, and I guarantee you things will begin to change and transform in an amazing and wonderful way. You know, I love life. It's just the people I can't stand. But if we learn to stand those people and deal with them, I tell you, life will be more beautiful than we can ever realize if we learn to deal with difficult people. God bless you all.
So we're going to take our prayer for protection together. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever you are, God is. And that's the truth. And so now, if you'll stand and join us for our closing songs.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Have a great weekend, everyone.